We live in a world obsessed with building empires. We measure our success by the height of our towers, the strength of our economies, and our technological dominance. But what happens when an empire reaches its absolute peak and vanishes overnight? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the 34th chapter of the Quran, Surah Saba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pulls back the curtain on history, named after the legendary biblical and historical kingdom of Sheba, modern-day Yemen. This surah is far more than history lesson. It's a psychological breakdown of how absolute wealth can blind a nation, contrasted against the true meaning of power. Today, we are breaking down the authentic details, the striking historical parallels, and the core message of Surah Saba. To truly understand Surah Saba, we have to look at when it was revealed. It is a Meccan surah, sent down during a period when the early Muslim community was heavily persecuted, poor, and weak. Meanwhile, the pagan Quraysh elite held all the wealth, power, and prestige in Arabia. The Quraysh looked at their wealth and said, "If God was pleased with you, you would not be poor. Our power is proof we are on the right path." Surah Saba was revealed to completely smash that logic. It structures its message around three foundational pillars. First, Tawheed, monotheism. Everything in the heavens and the earth belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Second, Akhirah, the hereafter. Skeptics scoffed at the resurrection. The surah opens by affirming the absolute certainty of the hour. Third, Shukr versus Kufr. The core psychological battle, gratitude versus ingratitude. To show the world what real power looks like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a stark contrast in the middle of the surah. He highlights two distinct examples of leadership. First, he points to Prophet David, and Prophet Sulaiman. Think about the sheer scale of what Sulaiman a.s. was given. He commanded the wind, understood the speech of animals, and had legions of jinn working under his command to build massive palaces and statues. Dawood a.s. could soften a raw iron with his bare hands. But notice how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frames their immense power. In verse 13, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Work, O family of David, in gratitude, and few of my servants are grateful." They had the ultimate worldly kingdom, but they remained humble servants. Their power did not own them. They honored their power through shukr, active gratitude. And then the surah gives us the shocking reality of Sulaiman a.s.'s death. He passed away while leaning on his staff, and the jinn kept working completely unaware that he was dead, until a tiny creature of the earth, a termite, gnawed through his staff, causing his body to fall. There is the lesson. If this powerful, unseen jinn did not even know the unseen reality right in front of them, how can human beings walk the earth with arrogance? This brings us to the namesake of the surah, the people of Saba. Historically, the Sabaeans were masters of engineering. They built the magnificent dam of Marib, capturing mountain torrents and transforming a dry valley into a literal paradise. The Quran describes their homeland as having two gardens on the right and on the left. On verse 15, it was so lush that historical accounts mention traveler could walk through the gardens with a basket on their head, and it will fill up with ripe, falling fruit without them even needing to reach out and pick it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them a simple condition to keep this paradise. Eat from the provision of your Lord and be grateful to Him. A good land you have and a forgiving Lord. But what did they do? They grew bored of their ease. They took credit for their success, attributing it to their own genius rather than divine favor. They even complained about how safe and short their travel routes were, wishing for long, arduous desert journey just to differentiate themselves from the lower classes. They chose kufr, ingratitude. The consequence was swift. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unleashed upon them the Sail al-Arim, the devastating flood of the dam. The great Marib dam breached. The life-giving water became a destructive force. Look at how precisely the Quran describes their agricultural collapse in verse 16. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced their magnificent fruit-bearing gardens with three things. First, bitter, unpalatable fruit, which is also known as khamt. Second, barren tamarisk bushes, which is also known as athal. Third, a few sparse, low trees, which is also known as sidr. In one swift geopolitical stroke, their trade routes collapsed, their people scattered across Arabia, and they became nothing more than a cautionary tale told in stories. Conclusion and the mirror for the modern world. Surah Saba is not just about ancient Yemen or the kings of Jerusalem. It is a mirror held up to us today. It teaches us that wealth, technology, and security are not inherently signs of God's pleasure. They are tests of stewardship. When we look at our own lives, our careers, or our modern societies, are we acting like the family of Dawood, using our resources with deep humility, or we acting like the people of Saba, assuming our comfort is guaranteed and solely a result of our own hard work? The next time we recite or listen Surah Saba, remember, empires do not fall simply because of economic shifts or military defeats. They fall from the inside out when they lose their gratitude. This surah tells us Satan's influence. The surah explains that Satan can invite people to evil, but he has no power to force anyone. Every person is responsible for their own choices. This surah also tells us about false gods. The idols worshipped besides Allah have no power to create, benefit or harm. Worship belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The key lessons of Surah Saba: be grateful for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings. Wealth and power do not guarantee success. Only Allah knows the unseen. Every deed will be judged. Following Satan is a choice, not compulsion. Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, is the foundation of faith. The basic information of Surah Saba. It's classified as Meccan Surah. Regarding the timing of the contextual background of the Surah Saba, circumstances of revelation, it is an earlier Meccan Surah, which means it was revealed in Mecca instead of later Medina. The number of verses are 54. The number of rukus are 6. The number of words are 995. The number of letters are 3542.